Welcome to Health 2660. Here we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. The aroma of simmering brown rice filled the small apartment, a comforting scent that spoke of health and home. It was a scent that Elias had come to associate with a newfound control over his life, a quiet rebellion against the swirling chaos of his diabetes diagnosis. Just 6 months ago, the word rice would have sent a shiver of anxiety down his spine. Rice pasta bread, all considered enemies, triggers lurking to spike his blood sugar and send him spiraling into fatigue and frustration. Now brown rice was his ally, a complex carbohydrate that provided sustained energy and a surprising sense of satisfaction. Elias remembered the day Dr. Anya Sharma, his endocrinologist, had suggested the switch. He had been resistant, picturing bland, tasteless grains. But doctor, he'd protested, I hate the idea of giving up all the foods I enjoy. Is there really no other way? Dr. Sharma, a woman with kind eyes and an unwavering commitment to her patients, had smiled patiently. Elias, I understand your concerns. I'm not asking you to give up everything you love forever. It's about making informed choices and finding alternatives that work for your body. Brown rice, for instance, is a whole grain. Unlike white rice, it retains its bran and germ, which are packed with fiber, vitamins, and minerals. This means it's digested more slowly, preventing those rapid blood sugar spikes. She'd continued showing him a detailed chart comparing the nutritional profiles of brown and white rice. The numbers were stark, significantly more fiber, magnesium, selenium, and manganese in the brown variety. She'd also explained the concept of the glycemic index GI, a measure of how quickly a food raises blood sugar levels. Brown rice, with its lower GI, was a far better choice for managing his condition. Think of it as a slow-release energy source. So, she'd said, it will keep you feeling fuller for longer and provide a steady stream of glucose rather than a sudden surge. It was still a carbohydrate, she emphasized, and portion control was crucial, but it was a far more beneficial option than its refined counterpart. Elias had been skeptical, but desperate to avoid a life of bland deprivation, he'd agreed to try it. His first attempt was a culinary disaster. He'd followed the package instructions, resulting in a pot of gummy, undercooked rice. He almost gave up then, and they're convinced that brown rice was inherently unpalatable. But Dr. Sharma's words echoed in his mind. It's about finding alternatives that work for your body. And he decided to persevere. He scoured the internet, devouring articles, and watching countless videos on how to cook perfect brown rice. He learned that soaking the rice beforehand could shorten the cooking time and improve its texture. He experimented with different ratios of water to rice, eventually discovering that a 2:1 ratio worked best for him. He also learned the importance of letting the rice rest covered after cooking to allow the steam to distribute evenly and create fluffy separate grains. Slowly but surely, he mastered the art of cooking brown rice. He started incorporating it into his meals, replacing white rice in stir-fries, burritos, and even sushi, using nori seaweed sheets instead of traditional rice-heavy rolls. He discovered that brown rice had a nutty, earthy flavor, that he actually enjoyed a welcome change from the blandness of white rice. He started adding different seasonings, a pinch of salt, a dash of soy sauce, a sprinkle of sesame seeds, to enhance its flavor. He even experimented with cooking it in broth instead of water for added richness. As he ate his dinner that evening, a bowl of perfectly cooked brown rice topped with grilled chicken and steamed broccoli. Elias reflected on the changes he'd made in his life. The switch to brown rice wasn't just about managing his diabetes. It was about taking control of his health and well-being. He felt more energetic, less prone to mood swings, and surprisingly, he'd even lost a few pounds. His blood sugar levels were more stable, and his A1C, a measure of long-term blood sugar control, had dropped significantly. Dr. Sharma had been right. He also started researching other benefits of brown rice beyond diabetes management. He learned about its high fiber content, which promotes digestive health and can help lower cholesterol levels. He discovered that it was a good source of magnesium, an essential mineral that plays a role in hundreds of bodily functions, including nerve and muscle function, blood sugar control, and blood pressure regulation. He was amazed by the sheer amount of nutrients packed into those small, unassuming grains. One day, while browsing a health forum, he stumbled upon a thread discussing the potential downsides of brown rice. Someone had mentioned the presence of arsenic, a naturally occurring element found in soil and water. Elias was alarmed. He immediately started researching the issue, delving into scientific studies and government reports. He learned that all rice, including brown rice, can contain trace amounts of arsenic. However, the levels are generally low and considered safe for most people to consume in moderation. He also discovered that there were ways to reduce arsenic levels in rice, such as rinsing it thoroughly before cooking and cooking it in excess water, which is then drained off. He also read about phytic acid, an anti-nutrient found in brown rice that can inhibit the absorption of certain minerals such as iron and zinc. However, he learned that soaking, sprouting, or fermenting brown rice can significantly reduce phytic acid levels and improve mineral absorption. He decided to incorporate these techniques into his cooking routine, soaking his brown rice overnight before cooking it. Another point raised in the forum was the potential for brown rice to be contaminated with pesticides or other chemicals, especially if it wasn't organically grown. Elias realized the importance of choosing high-quality organic brown rice whenever possible. He started buying his rice from a local farmer's market, where he could talk directly to the farmers and learn about their growing practices. He also learned about the importance of varying his diet and not relying solely on brown rice as his primary source of carbohydrates. He started incorporating other whole grains such as quinoa barley and oats into his meals. He also made sure to eat plenty of fruits, vegetables, and lean protein. Over time, Elias became a brown rice advocate. He shared his experiences with his friends and family, encouraging them to make the switch. He even started a blog documenting his journey and sharing his recipes and tips for cooking perfect brown rice. He was surprised by the positive response he received. People were eager to learn about the benefits of brown rice and how to incorporate it into their diets. He also learned that not all brown rice is created equal. There are different varieties, each with its own unique flavor and texture. Long-grain brown rice is light and fluffy, while short-grain brown rice is stickier and chewier. He experimented with different varieties, eventually discovering that he preferred the nutty flavor and slightly chewy texture of medium-grain brown rice. He also learned about the importance of proper storage. Brown rice, due to its higher oil content, is more susceptible to spoilage than white rice. He started storing his brown rice in an airtight container in a cool, dry place to prevent it from going rancid. He also made sure to use it within a reasonable time frame, typically within 6 months of purchase. One day, a reader of his blog reached out to him with a question. She was pregnant and had heard that brown rice was a good source of folic acid, an essential nutrient for pregnant women. However, she was also concerned about the arsenic levels in rice. Elias did some research and learned that while brown rice does contain folic acid, the levels are relatively low. He advised her to talk to her doctor or a registered dietitian about her folic acid needs and to consider other sources of this important nutrient, such as leafy green vegetables, beans, and fortified cereals. He also reassured her that the arsenic levels in rice were generally considered safe for pregnant women to consume in moderation. Another reader asked him about the best way to cook brown rice for a baby. Elias learned that babies can start eating brown rice as early as 6 months of age. He recommended cooking the rice until it was very soft and mushy, and pureeing it if necessary. He also advised parents to introduce brown rice gradually and to watch for any signs of allergic reaction. He also emphasized the importance of choosing organic brown rice to minimize exposure to pesticides and other chemicals. Brown rice was no longer just a grain. It was a symbol of his resilience, his commitment to well-being, and his newfound appreciation for the simple pleasures of life. He often thought back to his initial resistance, his fear of giving up familiar comforts. Now, he realized that he hadn't given anything up. He had gained so much more. He had gained control over his diabetes. He had gained a deeper understanding of nutrition. And he had gained a newfound appreciation for the power of food to heal and nourish the body. He had even gained a sense of purpose, sharing his knowledge and experiences with others and helping them to make healthier choices. The aroma of simmering brown rice continued to fill the apartment, a fragrant reminder of his journey. Elias smiled, knowing that this humble grain would continue to be a part of his life, a symbol of his commitment to a healthier, happier future. He ladled another spoonful of rice into his bowl, savoring the nutty flavor and the satisfying texture. It was more than just a meal. It was a celebration of life, of health, and of the power of brown rice. The next morning, Elias decided to experiment with sprouted brown rice. He'd read that sprouting increased the nutrient availability and made the rice even easier to digest. The process was simple. Rinse the rice, soak it in water for 8 to 12 hours, then drain and rinse it every 12 hours for 2 to 3 days until small sprouts appeared. He carefully followed the instructions, feeling a sense of anticipation as he watched the tiny sprouts emerge. When the rice was ready, he cooked it as usual, and the result was surprisingly delicious. A slightly sweeter, more tender grain than regular brown rice. He added some toasted almonds and dried cranberries for a quick and healthy breakfast. He also started exploring different ways to prepare brown rice flour. He learned that it could be used to make gluten-free breads, pancakes, and even pasta. He invested in a small grain mill and started grinding his own brown rice flour, ensuring that it was fresh and free from additives. He experimented with different recipes, gradually perfecting his own gluten-free brown rice bread recipe. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled his apartment, replacing the scent of simmering rice with a different kind of comfort. Elias's blog continued to grow in popularity. He started receiving emails from people all over the world, sharing their own experiences with brown rice and asking for advice. He made it a point to respond to every email offering encouragement and sharing his knowledge. He felt a sense of responsibility to provide accurate and reliable information, especially in a world filled with misinformation and conflicting advice. As Elias continued to research and connect with readers, he discovered that brown rice wasn't just beneficial for people managing diabetes. It was also an excellent choice for seniors looking to maintain stable energy levels, improve digestion, and support heart health. Its high fiber content promoted regularity and reduced cholesterol, two common concerns in older adults. He began to encourage older readers to give brown rice a try, especially those struggling with blood sugar fluctuations, joint inflammation, or digestive issues. Many wrote back, saying they felt lighter, more energetic, and even noticed improvements in their blood pressure and sleep. Elias realized that brown rice had become more than just a personal solution. It was a simple, accessible tool that could help people of all ages, especially the elderly, reclaim their vitality through everyday meals. As Elias continued sharing his journey, he realized how much his understanding of brown rice had deepened. It wasn't just a better choice than white rice. It opened a whole new world of healthier eating. He began experimenting with different types of brown rice. Among them, black rice stood out. Also known as forbidden rice, it had the lowest glycemic index of all and was packed with anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that reduced inflammation and supported vascular health. Elias noticed that his blood sugar stayed even more stable when he used black rice in his meals. Red rice, he discovered, also carried strong nutritional benefits, though its GI was slightly higher. Still, it offered a robust, earthy flavor, and when cooked thoroughly, worked well in his diet rotation. Standard brown rice remained a reliable favorite, easy to find, simple to cook, and gently nutty in taste. He began writing about these discoveries on his blog. His readers were eager to learn, often asking how to make brown rice more digestible for elderly loved ones. So Elias emphasized the importance of soaking rice for at least 6 hours, using a pressure cooker for better texture, and combining it with healthy fats like olive oil or steamed greens for smoother digestion. Some of his older followers shared concerns about bloating or discomfort when switching to brown rice. Elias recommended varying their grains, mixing in oats, barley, or quinoa, and always preparing them in gentle, digestible forms. He also reminded them to consult their doctors if they were on medication, especially for diabetes or blood pressure, because increasing fiber intake could impact absorption rates. What amazed Elias the most was how this single change in his diet brought unexpected emotional benefits. Learning to cook gave him a new sense of purpose. Planning meals helped him feel grounded. Even his sleep improved deeper, more restful. He felt less anxious, more hopeful. To help others take the first step, Elias began, including simple sample meal plans using brown rice. Breakfast: pumpkin brown rice, porridge, lunch. Brown rice with steamed fish and mixed vegetables. Dinner: brown rice, seaweed, rolls, with miso soup. These weren't just meals, they were quiet acts of care, proof that food could be healing when chosen wisely. Brown rice had become more than just a grain for Elias. It was a teacher, a companion, and a symbol of the health and joy he had reclaimed. Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.